Ask This Old House, our experts travel across the country to answer questions about your house. Today, we'll show you how to fix scratches on wood furniture.
Now we're going to introduce a softer wax.
Then, on our special Backyard Reno series, we'll install a swimming pool that's gaining in popularity, a shipping container pool.
So this pool weighs roughly 7,500 pounds. Wow.
And we'll repair and resecure a sagging fence gate. All that on Ask This Old House. Hey Nathan.
Hey Kevin.
Got your finishing kit out here.
Yeah,
Some repairs to be made?
All the goodies, yeah. So I want to talk about repairs, kind of abrasions on furniture and also on different hardwoods.
Okay.
And the best way to do it is just to demonstrate it, just to dive right into it.
All right.
So you see I have some red oak here with some dark stain and a coat of lacquer on top. Now imagine if you were moving and you had a nice piece of furniture and they bubble wrap around it and it rubs the entire trip and it gets to your house and it kind of went through the finish a little bit, but it didn't go through the stain, it didn't go into the wood. You kind of just messed with the finish.
In your mind, that's kind of the definition of an abrasion, right?
Yeah.
So into the finish, but not into the material.
Exactly. So I kind of want to replicate that here. I have a little bit of...
It makes the hair on the back of my neck go up.
I know. You can see when I move that around a little bit, see how the light changes?
That's dull.
And you're going to pick that up in your house when you have your overhead lights on.
Sure.
Really easy fix. So this is a dark, but they also make this in a light, and it's really just a scratch remover.
Okay, so,
really easy to use.
Specifically for this reason.
Yes.
It's just meant to go on the lighter abrasions.
A little bit on a rag, just buff it off.
Let's
See, it gives it a little bit of a sheen.
Yep. Is that a sheen that's going to stay, or is that going to come down as it dries?
It's going to come down as it dries. After you finish putting this off, you can also come back. I know I have lacquer on this. I could hit this with a little bit of lacquer and finish it off, and it'll really blend in.
So I can't see where that abrasion just was a second ago, so that did a pretty good job right there. Nice.
So I also brought my office chair with me, and I actually want to work on that.
All right.
This is kind of more of a severe abrasion.
So you're going to work on the top, or you're going to work on the bottom?
Let's work on the bottom.
All right. So what do you want to do to this?
So what I already did was clean this chair with mineral spirits.
And why mineral spirits?
I want to get rid of any wax or residue that's on top of it, and I want to clean it up. And some of that chair I can fix up with just a regular polish, but in this case, that polish really won't penetrate down there unless I sand it with some 120.
Right. So at this point, you want color to get into the wood, so you got to open that grain up a bit.
I have to open it up to introduce it and let it soak right in. It'll really help everything blend back together.
It always seemed to me that the magic to all this process is knowing when to stop. How far do you go, right?
Exactly. You know, this isn't a family heirloom or anything, so I don't mind tackling this myself.
Okay.
That's not bad. A little bit more mineral spirits to clean off that dust.
The hope is that opens it up as well, and you're able to kind of get some penetrating stain in.
Exactly. So for this, I'm going to use some dark walnut stain. Really, it's going to blend back in well. And also, I'd like to bring up that whenever you do anything like this, try and work in a small, inconspicuous area first.
Somewhere that's not going to be so obvious.
Exactly.
That's kind of your practice spot.
Yeah. You can come back if it seems too light. You can add a little bit more. Try and get some more color into it.
Right in the middle there, you kind of see a little bit of lightness. Yeah. And nothing special about this stain. This is just off the shelf. This is penetrating stain.
Just some dark walnut, easy to work with.
Yeah.
So now that we have this finished, we just stained it, but we can't put any sort of lacquer or anything on top of this for 4 hours. We need that to dry.
Right, and when it dried, I mean, you'd already referenced similar process here that's already been dried.
Already done.
Okay. So those are sort of lighter, as you say, abrasions, little wear and tear. We come across worse things than that, though.
Scratches, gouges.
Right.
You know, I've been on 1,000 job sites. They put the underlayment down, and somehow that sheetrock screw always sneaks its way underneath and gouges the new oak flooring.
Right.
So it's not a terrible fix, but it's not easy.
Look at that.
You see that? So we went through the finish, we went through the stain, we're down to the red oak. And we took some material away when it scratched. Now we need to put some things back in, but we got to build it back up. So to start, I'm going to use some 4/0 steel wool because I need to flatten those high points that were created with the scratch.
Okay, which I can feel now are almost flat. Yeah, we got a little bit of a remnant of the gouge.
Now we're busting back out the mineral spirits, taking any of that fine debris away.
Already starting to kind of fade a little bit.
Now here's where we get a little bit artistic. I have these, little color match stains that I can pull out, and I need to bring them over and put them on top of the work surface and see which one's going to be the best.
The top is not the color. This little band right here is what you're trying to find.
Exactly. So let's start light and work our way dark.
Okay.
So I'm just going to add a little bit of color in there.
Almost just painting it in.
Yep, I'll work it in with my finger.
So I can still kind of see it, but you can also see how most of it is starting to disappear because it's grabbing that color.
Starting to hide a little bit, and now we're going to introduce essentially what is a crayon. It's a softer wax that comes in a variety of colors, and I'm actually going to melt it into this. I can take it and rub it, but there's a lot of grain in here that I'm going to fill up if I rub it. So what I like to do is grab a color that's really close. Maybe I'll put 2 or 3 on. Go a little bit darker. I kind of like this one right here.
Okay.
So now that we filled it up with wax, we're going to let that dry for a second. And this is just a really simple plastic razor.
So not the metal razor blade that could risk regouging our material here. And what's the idea? You've scraped it off of the surface, so it just remains behind and anything that's below the surface.
Exactly. Then I'm going to bring my 4/0 steel wool back out. And I start to buff that off.
Yeah.
And that looks pretty good.
So your pen was essentially like a background color. So like an
Exactly.
artist, you've got layers of colors going on right now.
And you can see we have the way that this grain grabbed that dark walnut. I need to reintroduce that. So I'm going to come back to my markers.
So now you're going with the grain.
With the grain, and I'm going to work it in with my finger after I apply some.
That's actually quite dramatic, that effect right there. Every little tiny layer sort of diminishes how obvious that gouge was.
Exactly. So now that we have this built back up, steel wool it one more time. If we're really happy with it, I could hit this with some lacquer because I know that's what I have for a finish. But before you do your finish, you really need to know what you have. Is it a polyurethane, a shellac, a lacquer? In this case, lacquer. So I could hit that, let it dry, and it would blend right back in.
So you said on the chair, it's not a family heirloom. You're happy to have the character. This is relatively small. If it was a precious piece of furniture, if this was twice as wide, twice as deep, are we still in your world, a homeowner trying to get through it with the artistry here?
It takes a lot. There's hundreds of colors of wax. There's all these different methods for fixing something, and there are guys that make a living off of doing it. So I think that's the time that you consult a professional who does it for a living. You pay the money, especially when it's a family heirloom. You don't want to mess it up. But with an oak floor, why not give it a shot?
Why not give it a shot? Well, it's a pretty good shot you gave us, so thank you, Nathan. That's nice. Our friend, Jenn Largesse, has been renovating her backyard, and the focal point will be a shipping container pool. Today, she's at the factory to see how they're made.
First, the containers are delivered and unloaded into the facility.
Keep coming. All right, good right there.
Once they're in the facility, they measure and mark the height of the pool, which is typically about 5.5 feet. They cut the container using a grinder and then remove the top. Now that they've removed the top of the container, they can start adding the details that turn it into a pool. Details are welded into the pool, like the steps, benches, and window frame. Finally, the wall is capped with a thick steel rim. Once the interior details are installed, the raw steel is cleaned by sandblasting, followed by a coat of primer over the entire pool. Last, they apply a multi-layer top coat that protects the pool and gives it its color. Now, this layer is extremely elastic to allow it to expand and contract with the steel as it changes in temperature. Now that the structure of the pool is complete, all the equipment can get installed in the mechanical closet below the steps. And then the lines can get attached to the jets and the skimmer, just like a regular pool. But the beauty of this mechanical closet is that everything is hidden away, but still very easily accessible for any servicing or winterization. Before the pool is shipped off, They fill it with water to test the coating, lines, and jets. Once everything passes inspection, the pool will be emptied, dried, and wrapped so that it can be shipped to its new home. But before it can be delivered, there's a lot that needs to happen to prepare the site. The first step was to have our team excavate a level area that's big enough for the pool, plus another 4 feet, for the equipment doors to open at one end, so that we can get to our pool equipment if it needs to be serviced. To support the weight of the pool, we needed to add reinforcement at the corners. The excavator drove helical piers at each corner of the pool, and as they placed the rebar, tied in grounding wire to bond the helicals to the rebar, which will later be bonded to the pool as well. And then concrete footers were poured over the piers. We then supported the earth behind the hole with a retaining wall. Once the foundation for the pool was complete, the excavator dug a trench from the house to the footings so that the electrician can run electrical power and the plumber can tie our gas line in for the pool heater. As a final step, we also added drainage gravel to the entire base of the area, and we added a dry well in case we ever need to have access to pump out excess water. So now that our site is properly prepped, we are finally ready to install this pool. And for that, we have Joel, who's here from the pool manufacturer.
So this pool weighs roughly 7,500 pounds. Wow. Traditionally, a lull is used, a kind of a large telescoping forklift that can then take the container pool to the back of the client's yard. In this case, I believe we're going about 190 feet up in the air, about 100 feet to your backyard.
This is not a normal lift.
No, it's not. It's going to be quite the feat to kind of see this happen.
Touch. You gotta be on the bed, all right?
Jen, let's look at my favorite part of the container pool. So starting from left to right, we've got your variable speed pump. This is the force behind the pool that really circulates all the water. To the right of that is the stand-up cartridge filter. Similar to what you have in your house, it really helps to filter the debris in your pool. Then over here, tucked back in the corner, is the UV filter. That really helps to sanitize the pool, kills 99.9% of the bacteria in the pool, really helps to reduce the chlorine that you're using. Mounted on the wall here, that is the brains in the container pool. Connected to your Wi-Fi, you can actually use your phone to operate the lights, the heat, the pumps, and all that fun stuff.
That'll be nice when we're away as well,
Absolutely.
to keep an eye on everything.
Absolutely. This fun conglomeration of pipes, if you will, is the diverter valve. Once you hit the spa mode, this diverter changes and it then sends water and air to your jets to create that spa functionality. So this is the heater that resides outside of your container pool. It is actually the smallest footprint heater on the market to date, but it does pack a whopping 400,000 BTUs of heat.
Did you say 400,000?
Absolutely. And so for your 8x20 container pool, this will heat it very, very efficiently.
And so we're going to work with our plumber to hook this up, right? This uses gas to power it?
Absolutely. So once your landscaping is complete, your plumber will run the gas line from your house to the heater and then plumb it from the heater into the container wall.
Okay.
Here is the interior of your custom container pool. What do you think?
I think this is absolutely stunning. Talk me through everything installed over here.
Yes, so behind me is the skimmer. Obviously pulls the water from the pool into the equipment compartment, mixes it with that air, and gives that pulsating, spinning spa feel when you're using the spa.
That sounds relaxing.
Absolutely.
And what are these down here?
Yes, so you're interchanging LED lights. At night, this pool will just glow and emanate with greens and blues and pinks, really whatever color you want.
We love the configuration we chose, the color we chose, and we're excited to put water in and put it to use.
Thanks for asking us to be a part of it.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Hey Matt, Tommy, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Great, thanks for coming out.
So is this the fence you wrote me about?
Yes, it is. You can see it's got a little bit of a sag.
Yeah.
We got some wiggle over here.
Yeah, looks like you got a wobbly post here too.
Indeed.
I noticed that the lattice work is a little bit loose.
And this little cap keeps coming off.
Okay, well that's an easy fix. We can put a couple of nails in that. But let's look at this gate.
Okay.
All right, so this is a gate that it looks pretty nice, but I can actually see that it is sagged.
Mm-hmm.
And it's built by 3 pieces to simulate a mortise and tenon joint. And I don't know if the gate is still square, but it looks like it's sagged a little bit, so we have to try to pull that back into position and straighten it up. And we definitely need to see what we can do about this post. If you're up for it, I'll get some tools and we can get started.
Sounds great.
All right,
Thanks.
I'll be right back. All right. Okay, you got it?
Got it.
All right. I want to figure out what's going on with this post.
Okay.
You're going to dig down and see what we have. I see that there is a little bit of surface rot on the post below grade here, as you can see, and it looks like about a ½ an inch. It's actually still pretty solid down there. Quite frankly, I think you've got maybe 8 to 10 years left in the entire fence. And it's going to be a lot more costly to replace the fence than just repair this post for now. So I could stiffen this up. You get another 8 to 10 years out of the fence, and then you replace the whole thing. It's your call.
Sure, if you can get the post to last to the end of the life of the fence, I think that makes sense to stiffen it up.
Now we're going to set the post, and we have to hold it plumb.
I'm good.
And hold it in position with a scrap piece of wood and a stake in the ground. I'm not going to set the post in concrete or gravel. Instead, I'm going to use a 2-part expanding foam. I'll break the seal and mix it over my knee for about 15 seconds. Once the foam expands and hardens, it will secure the post in place. And it takes about an hour to 2 hours for it to set, depends on the temperature outside. While that's setting up, we can work on this gate. Now I know that it's out of square. Just by looking at the squares in the lattice work, I can see that they've turned into a parallelogram because that side of the gate is sagged. But a good way to check that is we're going to measure diagonally to see if that number is equal. Before we measure the diagonals, we want to make sure that the gate is parallel in both directions. That measurement needs to match this measurement, which it does. And that measurement equals the other side, so it's a parallelogram. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from inside this corner. I'm going to hold my tape. Now you have to make sure that you hold that position of that tape in the same orientation when you go to that corner.
Got it.
So I'll check the measurement here. I've got 53. This one here is 52. The other side was 53. The difference is 1 inch. Divide that in half. That means that the gate is about a ½ an inch out of square. We have to raise this side up. Let me show you with a framing square what I mean.
Okay.
If I take the framing square and I hold it on the bottom tight, right here, and I hold it so it hits right here, see the space?
Yep.
It's out of square. What I want to do is I need to pull this side up. And I'm going to try to do that with a clamp. By putting the clamp diagonally from corner to corner and tightening it, I should be able to pull it up. But I don't want to damage the wood, so I made a couple of blocks to fit in the corner that will go under the clamp. Put it in the corner, move the clamp up tight to the block. By tightening the diagonal, that should be pulling that side up. Let's take a quick measurement, see how it is. Go right under the clamp, hold it in the same orientation that you did before. Right now, I'm 52 5/8. I'm an 1/8 of an inch too high,
Okay.
and that's what I'm going to keep it. I want to be a little bit too high so it'll settle down.
Makes sense.
To hold the gate square, I've made these brackets, and we'll screw them in the corner, and that will add to the stability of the gate.
Okay.
Perfect. I want to put a couple screws in the corners also, just to be on the safe side. Once the foam is cured, I'm going to cover the top with about 6 inches of soil. We're going to tighten up the lattice on the fence using a 1/4 crown staple 1 inch long. And also reattach that cap to the post. We'll tip it up. Let me get a screw. I got it right here. Take it to you. Watch your fingers there. Get on the inside. There it is. All right, come a little past that post. Down. Right there with that one. All right, so what I did is I cut this block to fit the corner of the house. I measured the gap that you had there. That's about a 1/2 inch, so that's a little bit less.
Okay.
So we're gonna pull the post out, put that against the concrete. I wanna line it up like that and hold the post tight. All right, Matt, everything's fixed up, good as new. Looks good, nice and solid. What do you think?
Looks great, Tommy. Much sturdier than before. It's got no sag.
Yeah, the gate works, everything else.
I really like these brackets that you made. That's a nice detail.
Nice detail, but it's structural. Now these will weather and they'll probably blend in with the wood, probably take a year or so, but you'll never notice them.
Excellent.
All right, well, I'm glad I could help.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
My
I appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Next time on Ask This Old House, our carpenter Nathan will explain how he got into the trades and share how he became a member of the Ask This Old House team. Then, we'll answer all your burning questions about LED light bulbs. And we'll tackle a wobbly toilet and fix a sticky faucet handle all in one house call on Ask This Old House.